Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to be my review of the latest summon showcase. It's another Gala Dragalia, this time around featuring Gala Leonidas. Gala Leonidas is our first ever Flame Element Manicaster. He uses the rapid fire playstyle, and if you've played through the latest chapter of the campaign, you may have anticipated that Leonidas was going to get a playable ult at some point. Despite that, it's still really exciting to finally see him here and get to play him, see him in action, and I think this is going to be a hotly anticipated showcase for a lot of you out there. So let's talk about Gala Leonidas. We'll do that in this video, as well as just talking about the context around the summon showcase and the decision of whether or not you should summon. First up, just some parameters on the showcase. Number one, Gala Leonidas is the only thing at an appearance rate up here. Unlike in other recent Galas, there are no other 5-star adventurers, there's no 5-star dragons at an appearance rate up here, new or old. So you really are looking at this basically only if you're interested in Gala Leonidas. And in the Worm Sigil Redemption, number 2, you also have a possibility of getting Gala Mars using 300 Worm Sigils. It's pretty expensive if you want to do that, but having said that, Gala Mars has already been featured on his debut banner, he's already been featured on one remix, so I don't think it's all that likely he'll be available at an appearance rate up anytime soon, considering that. Maybe if they bring back a remix with Gala Cerise, they'd also throw along Mars, but otherwise I really don't see him becoming highly available anytime soon outside of this method, so that might be a consideration for some players. Or perhaps if you're just going for Gala Leonidas and you get him in 290 summons or something, well then it's probably worth it to pick up a Gala Mars as well. And number 3, the last parameter I want to mention on the showcase is this doesn't last very long. It's only a 3-day duration showcase, and I'm making this the first day that the showcase is out, so depending on when you're watching, you might only have 1 or 2 days left to decide. It ends on the 29th, and on the 30th is when our Princess Connect Redive collaboration starts. So presumably with that collaboration, we're going to get a showcase with Pecorine and Mitsuba and the dragon, or apparent dragon, Pandora available. Those units, at least Pecorine for sure, have been said to be permanent. They don't seem to be limited. We'll know that for sure once the showcase preview for that gets posted, I suppose tomorrow or the next day. But that's the context in which we find ourselves at this Gala Leonidas banner. The other important thing to note to set the stage is, I'm pretty sure at this point y'all are already aware of this, at least those of you who track this and care about it, but I was really excited that they added an event to the event compendium, a Crescendo of Courage. I thought this might be our source of missing Wormite income for the month of November, that this was going to make up for a lot of the lower value rewards on the other events that we had. But in fact, this event in the compendium has also had its rewards modified compared to other compendium facility events, and it's more in line with what we've been seeing with recent events where there's like crystals and twinkling sand, even some tomes, but not a lot of Wormite in this compendium event. So unfortunately at this point, I'm pretty sure, it's like 95% certain to me, that we are in a lower Wormite world. Having said that, we don't necessarily know what December, what January are going to bring. Maybe it'll level out a little bit, maybe we'll get slightly more Wormite, but I'm operating at this point on the principle that Dragalia is not giving as much Wormite or as much summon tickets as they used to. I haven't fully tabulated this, but for example, I know that for this compendium event, from what I've read, you used to get 20 single summon tickets in other compendium events, and in this one you only get 10, so that's halved at the very least. And with that in mind, we have to be even more judicious about what we decide to summon on. It's not so easy to just try summon on every banner a little bit and get all the characters that you want. That's a very risky strategy. If you're not planning on sparking and just trying to summon a little bit, it's very likely that you can just go 3 banners in a row, not getting any of the characters you want, and you're kind of kneecapping yourself because you're never going to save up enough at that point to specifically pull a certain character. So I really want to advise, caution, if you can all afford it, with summoning on the showcase, as much as Gala Leonidas seems very, very hype for a lot of players out there. So let's talk about Gala Leonidas' kit. having said all of that about the Wormite situation, I know that not everybody is going to be able to summon for him. I am thinking I will probably skip myself. And here's my advice as to whether or not you should summon. I really think that Legend Volk that's out now is not so hard that you need to have Gala Leonidas. In co-op, you're already seeing these sub 1 minute clears going around. There's going to be a little bit of a lag time before that percolates and diffuses to the pub population and even to the Discord population. But I do expect as people get more practice with that fight, co-op clears are going to be reliable. There's only one weekly in that mode, so you could probably get one clear a week on Discord if that's what you want to do. And the solo battle is hard. Gala Leonidas will probably help you, but in my opinion for solo, the most important thing is basically you just need to be able to iframe a lot. You have to have a character with a lot of access to skills, fast to charge skills such as Yuden or Naveed. Use them as your leader, and you should be able to easily take on solo if you have 4 well-built flame characters. It's still hard, it's not easy, but I don't think Gala Leonidas is going to suddenly turn that around for you. I really think it's kind of more skill dependent, that you have to just time your skills at the right time during the Berserk phase and even other phases just to make sure that your AI are not accidentally dying. Remember, when you use a skill, you're iframing to protect your entire team, not just the character you're controlling, and that is how you're going to protect your AI and get through Legend Volk solo. So all of that being said, Gala Leonidas is still a really strong flame character, and he could be the difference maker in future content, perhaps our next series of endgame trials, but right now, not super necessary. The thing is, if you don't pick him up now, there's so many other past Gala characters that still haven't gotten a remix. When is the next time we're going to see Gala Leonidas at an appearance rate up? Probably not anytime soon if I had to guess. That being said, I know a lot of players like to weigh these decisions on whether or not something's limited or not limited. I kind of don't think that that's as important all the time. Let's take the Princess Connect collaboration banner as an example. Yes, Pecorine and Mitsuba probably are not going to be limited on that banner, right? But if you don't get them then, the permanent pool is so large now that your probability of getting them in the future just randomly, sure, it can happen, and if you don't really care about them, it can be a pleasant surprise, but it's very unlikely to happen in the future. So I do think that you kind of have to treat galas and regular banners sort of as the same in the same way now. Like Formal Joaquim, for example, apparently had a really good shared skill, but I didn't get Formal Joaquim. I can't really expect that I'm ever going to get Formal Joaquim at this point, having not gone from him on his first banner where he appeared. Like, maybe it'll happen, maybe I can dream summon him or something, but it's very low probability. So all that to say, I think that you have to decide whether or not to summon based on essentially whether you just really want to have that character more than other characters. And it's always kind of been that way, but I think that that's true today, true as it ever has been. And I only say it now just that the pool used to be sort of smaller. Like, every character you passed up on was another opportunity to get something good. At this point, you're adding a small chance, but it's not like you're really expecting to get those characters immediately. It does happen, like I've gotten some Ilia dupes randomly and stuff like that, but you can't count on it happening. So let's talk about Gala Leonidas' kit now. I'm going to scroll down here. We'll skip over a little bit of, the lore, but I mean, there is some crazy lore. Just if you read his first encounter story, which pops up when you first start playing the game, when you log in, like, that might be one of the most hyped things about summoning for Gala Leonidas. Some crazy things happen in his story, so I will say that. But as for his skills, first he has Sovereign Barrage. It's shareable with the shared skill point cost of 5. It deals flame damage to enemies directly ahead and inflicts Scorch Rend. And his second skill is called Absolute Dominion. This one is a little bit more complicated. Let's start with Sovereign Barrage. According to our data miners over on the Reddit Discord, it looks like this deals 18 hits of 100% flame damage, so you're getting 1800% damage modifier on Sovereign Barrage. And then the Scorch Rend deals 41.6% damage every 3 seconds or so for 21 seconds. So you're probably getting, what, 2100, 2200, something like that, damage off of the skill when you count the damage over time as well. That's really good on a first skill. The SP cost is a little on the high side, 3780 according to the Data Mine channel. But this still seems like a potent skill, very good skill. And as for Scorch Rend, yet another Gen 2 affliction. What is going on with these afflictions? Flash Burn, Storm Lash, Shadow Blight, and now we have Scorch Rend as well, all in the vein of Frostbite, lasting longer, and this lasts 21 seconds just like Frostbite does. I don't think that this will necessarily usurp or surpass Formal Hakim shared skill, which seems to be the dominant one right now, because the Poison Punisher print is a 25% Punisher print, and Formal Hakim shared skill gives 30-second duration poison, I believe, which is really long duration. So that tends to be the preferred method if you're trying to do the double affliction Punisher strategy. And as of now, there's no, Scorch Rend Punisher worm print anyway. But I really thought going into Legend Volk that they would just make Volk immune to any afflictions that weren't typically caused by flame characters. With that idea in mind, that is why I thought they were making all these Gen 2 afflictions, so that if you wanted to do double Punisher in the future, you had to run these specific characters. But even though Legend Volk is locked to the Flame Element Adventurers, it's not locked as far as shared skills. Volk doesn't resist afflictions like Frostbite until he's Berserk, and you can even use off-element dragons, and those have been used to good effect to make it so that, the co-op difficulty is not all that high if you're running with a coordinated team. Still very high, still feels like a good challenge, a nice thing to only have to do once a week compared to Master, which you want to grind out more, Expert, which you want to grind out more. But all that to say, they left a lot of holes in where Scorch Rend and Stormlash, these Gen 2 afflictions, to me are not necessarily going to fill in the way I would have expected them to for Legend, because you can still use a lot of off-element shenanigans like Karina shared skills and so on. But it's a good skill. As a playable character, I think that it's a good skill. I don't know that you'd necessarily want to share this. Okay, so that brings us to Gala Leonidas' second skill, Absolute Dominion. Deals flame damage to surrounding enemies, dispels one buff from each target, and grants the user the Draconic Grace effect. This one also looks like it deals 2100% damage as far as the modifier. And Draconic Grace, the first level, for 40 seconds, reduces damage taken by 10%. When you get the second level, it also increases strength by 5%. And the next level also, bumps up the damage reduction to 15% from 10. The next level bumps up both the strength to 10% and the damage reduction to 20%. And then the final one keeps those same modifiers, 10% to your strength, 20% to your damage reduction, but it's for the remainder of the quest, whereas all the other ones were for 40 seconds. And the way the leveling works, if Draconic Grace is granted while already active, it will be raised one level. Conversely, it will be lowered one level when the effect's remaining time is depleted. If the effect is at level 1 when its time is depleted, it will instead be removed entirely. So essentially you kind of want to continuously chain this, and within the first 40-second duration make sure to use this skill. The skill appears to have an SP cost of, 7560. So not knowing the rapid fire Manicaster playstyle as well, it's a little hard for me to place off the top of my head how fast this will charge, but I think that there's probably plenty of time. With the 40-second buff, that's a long duration. You can probably continuously chain this, if I had to say. And it's a good permanent buff. Kind of makes it seem like Leonidas has a pretty cool playstyle. His second skill, Absolute Dominion, I mentioned the damage modifier, but it hits 7 times, so each of those does 300% damage, and the first one hits 18 times. So it's also pretty easy for Leonidas to maintain a combo and build up a high combo count, and that comes in relevant when it comes to his co-ability and chain co-ability, especially, obviously the chain co-ability. The co-ability, just your generic Manicaster co-ability, but as far as his full setup, the chain co-ability flame combo equals Shapeshift Prep 5. If a team member is attuned to flame, fills 3% of their dragon gauge for every 50 hit combo, benefits your whole team. This is really sick. 3% isn't a lot, but for solo, this is really sick. I want to try this, but I don't need this. But yeah, I would love to try this on a team with, let's say, Gala Mim, regular Yuden, and Gala Leonidas, all of whom can ramp the Dragon Gauge via their skills. Gala Mim and Gala Yuden probably aren't going to be hitting a 50-hit combo that easily, but Flame does have combo time on their weapons, so that's one thing that kind of helps set them up. And there are periods where Volk is relatively stationary that they could probably maintain a combo up to 50 hits, at which point you get that nice 3% Dragon Gauge. And essentially, yeah, that's why I think this is cool, is because in solo, it applies to your whole team. So any character on your team doing this is going to be contributing to your Dragon Gauge. And if nothing else, Leonidas himself, with how many hits his skills do and the rapid fire Manicaster Force Strike does, I think that he's going to be easily triggering this a couple times in fast succession. Like getting 100-hit combos is not going to be too hard for him. So I think this is actually kind of cool. Really nice setup if you want to be soloing. And Leonidas has some other attributes that make him nice on a solo team. Absolute Dominion, dispelling buffs from the target. That is something pretty nice that you want to have access to in solo or co-op of Legend Volk. You don't have to have super high frequency dispel, but having some dispel is very helpful. Another thing of note is Gala Leonidas doesn't cause burn, so he's not competing for other characters' slots that do cause burn, that enable your burning punishers. That has been a problem with Flame in the past, is too much saturation in one affliction. You cap off the enemy's resistance to that affliction, and then you're not able to do it to the later half or in the later stages of the fight. Let's go on to read the abilities. So let's start with the second two, and then we'll get to Conquering Scion, the more complicated one. So Conqueror's Will, stun and sleep immunity 100%, or resistance, I guess, because with Plague, you're not really ever fully immune in Volk. Ruthless Ignition 2 increases damage to Scorch Rend enemies by 30%, so just a straight up Punisher for Scorch Rend, pretty good. And in Overdrive State by 10%, also good. In high difficulty Legend and Master, your enemy Volk is in Overdrive a lot of the time, so that's also very good. Conquering Scion 2, when shapeshifting, Leonidas will transform into Mars regardless of what dragon he is equipped with. Very cool, similar to our Welfare character from Chapter 16. When the Draconic Grace level 5 effect is active, Leonidas' shapeshift time will be halved, but the amount of the Dragon Gauge consumed by shapeshifting will also be halved. If Leonidas shapeshifts while this effect is active, Draconic Grace level 5 will be consumed when his shapeshift is undone. Interesting. A little unfortunate that it gets consumed, because you kind of have to really work up to level 5. But having said that, I don't know that you're going to get level 5 like all that fast in a match. And I think you might be seeing this like once or twice in a match. Maybe it's much faster if his SP generation is a lot higher than I think. But then at that point you could start building it up again. And having your Dragon Gauge consumption halved effectively would take you from basically from 2 shapeshifts filling the entire gauge to 4 filling the entire gauge, right? So you use one, let's say your gauge was full, then you're still at 75% Dragon Gauge, so you could shapeshift again if you wanted to and still have 25% left over. This seems like it's ultimately good. Being forced to change into Mars isn't also a bad thing. Mars has a really good dragon form, and the only thing I'm not sure of is if Mars's passives would apply here, even if you don't have Mars equipped to Gala Leonidas, like the real Gala Mars dragon. I don't necessarily think that if his shapeshift ends, all his skills are going to fill up, unless you're actually using Gala Mars on him. But otherwise, like, this looks really good to me. Being able to have the shapeshift time isn't super bad either, because I would imagine with the Gala Leonidas, you do want to be making sure you have Scorch Rend, like, you're probably having faster combo accumulation when you're not a dragon, and I think it still might be enough time to get off both skills of Gala Mars if he has the same property where he can use his skill twice. But if not, like, I still think Gala Leonidas is a really strong character. Now, that being said, do you really need him? And I think that's sort of the question that you have to ponder here. For me, I would rather have Forager Mitsuba, and thinking ahead that I probably have maybe like 1 possibility of sparking the rest of the year, maybe 2 if I get lucky on one of the banners and don't have to go all the way. For that reason, I think I'm going to skip on Gala Leonidas. I'm very torn. I actually have 10 Worm Sigil Remnants, so I was thinking about doing 90 summons on this, just so I could, in the worst case, let's say I don't get Gala Leonidas in 90 summons, well, at least that turns into a Champion's Testament for me with 100 Remnants at that point. But honestly, at this point with our Wormite income and summon ticket income being so significantly reduced, I really don't think I'm going to go for it. I feel like it's unlikely. I'm going to wait till I see the preview of the next banner. But even 90 summons feels like too big of a chunk, too big of a price to pay, in consideration that, you know, in 90 summons, that's like not even a 40% chance to pull a Gala Leonidas. So if you're only going in with that much, I would not get your hopes up of trying to get Gala Leonidas. And if you really have your heart set on him, I don't know if I would summon, honestly, if I didn't have the full 300 here. Maybe if you have like 150, maybe at that point you might be looking at a little bit better chance. But yeah, so at some level your decision on this might also be easier just based on how many resources you have. Still painful, but easier to make the decision. Let's take one final look at Gala Leonidas. Man, he does look sweet. How did he become so handsome? I can't even hate him like I feel like I should, because he did some really bad things in the campaign. But okay, Gala Mars, we've seen you before. Let's check out Gala Leonidas. Decisions, y'all. This is a tough one. I will probably skip. I'll let you know in the next couple days when I'm talking about the next summon showcase. You may see a summoning video from me, probably not. That is going to do it for today, though, everyone. Gala Leonidas, really strong looking adventurer, some neat combos, some neat potential, particularly for solo play where I think his chain co ability makes him exceptionally interesting. Having said that, not a must-have for Legend at this point. Thank you as always for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Gala Leonidas in the comments below. Take care, and I'll see you next time.